welcome to Child Development with Lucy. What the last things I will see. Don't forget to subscribe. Hi everyone, welcome to Child Development with Ruth. If this is your first time of watching this video, kindly click on the subscribe button. You can also share and like our YouTube video. Today we have a very important topic we'll be talking about, and as you all know, this YouTube channel deals with children and parenting as well, helping parents to bring up godly children and helping children to build good relationships with their parents. So with regards to this, we'll be bringing to you a very important topic that talks about parenting, the role of parenting in child upbringing. Are there roles that parents have to play? Definitely there are roles, and not just ordinary roles, but important roles that contribute to the growth and development of a child. So today I have with me here Mrs. Phoebe Palmer. She'll be taking us through this section. Please stay to make sure you don't go anywhere. As she'll be taking us through this section, she'll be telling us a whole lot about parenting. She's a mother of 3 children, so you know what that means. So she'll be taking us through this section. She'll be telling us a whole lot of things which we should know as parents. So over to you, Maria. Welcome. Join me in welcoming her to the studio. Use the comment box to welcome her as well. So over to you, Ma. Talking about parenting. Of course, I've never breastfed before. I don't have a child, but I've heard so much about parenting, the responsibility, the role of bringing up godly children. So, Ma, what do you feel are the roles of parents, and what are actually the tasks of bringing up children in a time like this?
All right, thank you very much for having me. You see, parenting is like I like to liken it to something like a mentor-mentee kind of relationship where you have someone who is older, more experienced, more advanced, has a certain level of direction to provide to the lesser parent. And what that means is that for you to be a mentor, it doesn't mean that you are necessarily superior. What I'm trying to say with that is that you are not just training your children to be like you. A mentee can actually end up being better. In fact, should be better than the mentor if the mentoring went well. So, the whole role of parenting is very critical because children need that guide. The Bible tells us that foolishness abounds in the heart of a child. So you see, sometimes even as adults, when you do something and I don't like, what will I say? I'll say, why are you behaving like a child? What am I trying to say? Basically, all I'm saying is that you are not behaving with so much understanding. You should have had more understanding than that. So parents have that role of guiding their children step by step to being the fullness of what God wants them to be. And you might not be able to do this effectively if you feel that, oh, I just happen to have children and that is it. Before you can actually appreciate your role as a parent, you have to recognize that these children were not just dropped in your arms, but that somebody specifically sent them to you with the understanding that you have all it takes to take care of your child. And it's a huge responsibility, it's a huge privilege that we should put in our all to ensure that our children come out the best of what God wants them to be.
Okay. So sorry, Ma. How about those that they've put in everything possible, like everything they know, humanly speaking, and this child seems to be so difficult, seems to be so, in fact, so hard. Like they are getting frustrated to the point that at the point they decide to just leave this child to do whatever seems good to that child. When you get to such point, what do you do as a parent?
Okay, so first of all, this whole thing starts from the cradle. You know, there's some mistakes that some parents make is that they start introducing some of the principles, the changes they want much later on in the life of the child. So, but for parenting to be effective, you discover that you have to start from when that child is in your womb. You begin to provide that guidance at that point. Don't say, oh no, it's just a kid, it's 3. Don't worry, when he's 5, he will understand what I'm talking about. Because you wouldn't know when there has been a transition, when the child has already grown past that stage. And then it's like, children are constantly striving for independence because somehow they feel like, oh, we've been told what to do, especially if you don't present it to them from a loving perspective. They feel like, it's been just so many rules here and there and all of that. So I want to find myself. So if this has not even happened, and suddenly, okay, a child that can eat and throw the plate anyhow, and suddenly you're trying to enforce, that's just a very simple example I'm bringing up, but that raises that rebellion. By the time you're trying to enforce that, you discover that the child will fight back, will rebel. So the thing is, for parents who still have very young children, you have the advantage of taking your time to establish the principles that you want and then follow through with it. But when these children are already grown, like in the scenario you're painting, and they have gotten to a stage where they have become deviant and all of that, at that point, it's also the same procedure. Yes, it might be more difficult. There's a parable or a saying that you don't. It's not possible. It's difficult for you to bend a dry wood. Yeah, and basically what they are trying to say is that if you want to make any changes, it's better when the child is still young. The older they grow, the more difficult it gets. But with God's help and getting the necessary help, if it's counseling, if it's letting them meet with people that they trust, other adults that you also trust their judgment to talk with them, to enable them see that yes, these things your mom or your dad is doing is coming from a point of love, is coming from a point of concern for you. But ultimately, um, you remember to always pray for them and know that it's not always a by force, you know, scenario. You don't need to always fight it. You don't need to always make it a struggle before you achieve meaningful results in the life of your children. But so the summary for me is that for parents who have younger children, the time to start is now. Don't feel your child is too young. Start now and know that you are shaping the life of an adult to be the best of themselves, not just to be who you are, not just to be what you want. So when you allow them that independence, sometimes parents fight in code with children simply because they are not doing some things that they, the parents, want without having an understanding of okay, this child is also growing into a human being of his or herself. So you have to understand if it is proper character default or just you fighting to make them your minions.
Wow, I never saw it from this angle. I've always seen that maybe such a child, you beat the child, like you just enforce it, you must do it because I'm your parent, I'm the one that gave birth to you. But thank God you brought it from this angle, and I've added this knowledge. I'm adding it to my own now for the future use because I know that I'm hoping to have a very good home. So once again, I have a very good friend who always complains bitterly that whenever she wants to correct her child, her husband always is always bitter. Her husband is not always bringing in the way she feels is the best way. So, what's the advice to such parents that are passing through such situation?
All right. So, for parents, you need to understand that children are watching you much more than what you say. They are watching to see the kind of example you live. So, you have to come together as a couple and agree on the things that you want for your children. Your children must not see you disagreeing in their front over issues concerning them because I mean they will end up playing you. They'll say, this one mommy will do, this one mommy will not do. So you must approach it as one person.
Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. I'm very sure you have learned so many things. If you haven't, I have learned so many things from today. So, as a parent, know that you have a very big role to play in the life of your children, in bringing up good and godly children. Thank you so much for listening. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.